What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Overserved with your host, myself, Pooch, my co-host, Rachel. And let's hop right back into the big news of the week. Obviously, we all heard about dropping yesterday. Holger Rune's coach, Boris Becker, decided to step away from Holger and will no longer be coaching him.
I know, and I gotta say, I am genuinely upset about the breakup. I really liked them as a team in a way. I felt like they were both really good for each other. Holger has such a, in my opinion, similar playing style to Boris Becker with that big serve, all court playing style, personality wise, even attitude wise. I thought they were pretty similar, and I thought maybe that they would be able to go very far together. And so definitely upset about it. And I know, we'll get into it with his mom and everything. But to me, Holger Rune is not the CEO of his team. Like all the other players, they're in charge of their team. His mom is. I think that that's going to change at some point as he continues to get older. Hopefully it gets better. It reminds me of kind of like an Emma Raducanu situation where she's just kind of going through all of these coaches. I really, really want him to find his right fit and just stick with someone and really grow together. You can't just give up right away, and hopefully he'll find that right coach.
Yeah, so once this news dropped on social media, the comment section obviously was going wild. And a lot of people, hate on Rune, like you said, hate on Rune or hate on the whole mom dynamic in the sense of them being very close and almost like she's the CEO, like you said, running the team. And at the surface of it, it looks like it's more of a attitude Runer problem more than like a coach problem and not a fit, more of him just being like, not having a great attitude and that being the reason, and him being like, hey, if anybody's being real hard on him potentially, or maybe giving him some tough love, maybe he doesn't like that. And he's like, hey, just moving on to the next guy, going through coaches. But the more you look into it, there is a little bit more that's under the surface. Becker obviously had some bankruptcy charges and recently, had that situation figured out. But he has some travel restrictions, can't travel all over. I believe he wasn't at the Australian Open with Rune, not positive on that, but I know he can't travel everywhere as a team with Rune right now. And obviously, for a top, he's seven in the world right now. That's not an ideal situation to not have your coach right there, at the tournaments with you. So I think potentially, a lot of people are going at Rune, but in this situation, I think right now he needs somebody with him almost 24/7 or with him on a daily basis, and obviously just being able to do that on Zoom or over the phone call. I think for a professional top seven player in the world, it's just not ideal.
Yeah, not having a coach that isn't able to travel with you is a huge issue. So yeah, I completely think you're right with that.
Yeah, and like I said, I was talking about this with you earlier. Rune gives me, I said, the whole young Justin Bieber vibes, where just some of the things he does, he carries himself. I think he has a really big ego. It rubs people the wrong way. He's obviously extremely talented, but I just think over time, in a sense, just like more and more as Bieber got older, you heard less and less about him and only positive things. He kind of just stepped away from everything because being in the spotlight at that young is a lot. It's a lot. And obviously, I think he enjoys it, but at the same time, I think he's going to learn how to handle it over time. And I think people are going to really appreciate more of his talent as he gets older and figures out this whole thing.
I think a lot of people also confuse, and I've talked about it before, his confidence with cockiness. I mean, he's not afraid to say kind of anything he wants. Like he's like, "Bring it on, Djokovic." That one time you had to play him, and I think that's going to take him really, really far. And I think that he's just going to continue to mature into his game, and I am eager to see the day that comes when he's like, "Mom, I make the decisions for my team now." So we'll have to just watch for it.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, the blind confidence got him where he's at today. And
Yeah.
obviously, sometimes it's going to hurt him, but I think it's helped him more than it has hurt him so far. And hopefully, once he, like we just said, matures and gets past that, I don't even want to say immaturity level because I can only imagine, or I know I was doing at that age, and it was a lot worse than what he's doing, and I wasn't
We
playing
weren't
tennis.
seven in the world
Exactly. I was not
at anything.
I was not seven in the world in anything I could promise you. Probably not 7,000, 7,000,000. So understand. I do think he'll figure it out. I'm interested to see who he ends up pairing with the coach. I honestly think it's going to be somebody who understands him. And I don't know who that is, but I think it might not be the biggest name guy like we saw who Becker, who won Wimbledon when he was 17 years old. I don't know who the answer is, but I think it has to be somebody who really fits his personality and who, I just think gets him. And we'll see what happens. And then moving on, obviously, big news this week for Alexander Bublik won his fourth career title, which feels, I would have thought he won more, but I guess it sounds like a similar number. He's had ups and downs in his career, but he won it recently in France this past weekend in Monte and obviously, it's a lot of things that's going back and forth right now. He's had success there. He's had ups and downs. Like we just said, in his career, there was that one clip of him last year losing in 3 sets, and he smashed his racket like 7, 8, 9 times. It's hysterical. We'll have our producer throw it in there. So really a full circle moment for him to come back this year and win the title.
It is so good to see him doing so well. He plays really well at that tournament. He won the title in 2022, and it's crazy how he did it this tournament in the fashion that he did. He lost every single first set, and I guess he just played really well with coming from behind. And I think that some players thrive in that, but hopefully in the future he makes it a little bit easier on himself and wins in two, or if it's a 5-set match, 3 sets. But just winning in that fashion, it's the first time it's ever been done. A player coming from behind after losing every single first set. So it was really, really fun to watch that. His entertainment value is so high. He has so many trick shots up his sleeve. He interacts with the fans. I think he was like eating chips out of someone's bag the other day and in the audience, like after a point. But he's very, very likable player. He thrives in settings like the Ultimate Tennis Showdown, where it's very interactive with the crowd. So he's just a very, popular player, and it's really good to see him get that title.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where I think he's great for the game of tennis. I really do. And it's one of those things where now the question is he going to take it? And not that he's not taking it serious, but now I think once again, I think that helps him because I think he's never too stressed out about it. Going down 1 set in each of those matches, he's kind of just like, I don't want to say, hey, whatever, but he's just not stressing like some guys you see mentally go through those gymnastics in their head while they're playing. He always looks super cool and collected. So my question is first, I was thinking a lot of the antics on court he does, I think is similar to Kyrgios, which I enjoy. I think it's great for the game of tennis. But every time I see one of those antics, the underhand serve, whatever he's doing on court, it seems like people love it, compared to Kyrgios. I feel like I got a lot of backlash when he does it. So my first question is, why do you think he's so much more well received than Kyrgios, when he does it?
Yeah, you're right. He does do a lot of those kind of on court trick shot antics. We've seen him flip the racket and hit it with the grip over the net. Totally unnecessary, but did it anyway, and the crowd loved it. I think that he's a bit more well received because Nick goes to social media. He tweets a lot of hot takes, not afraid to share his opinion. Bublik is a little bit more, he's quieter on social media. And you don't really hear a lot of his, I guess, opinionated comments like Nick. And I think maybe that's why he's a bit more well received when it comes to kind of those on court antics and things.
No, and I guess that's the one thing. Nick, when Kyrgios is on court, he's loud with his play and his mouth, but really with Bublik, it's really just his play. He's never
Yeah.
really. Kyrgios is yelling at umpires, yelling at fans. Bublik obviously hasn't followed all the tennis etiquette per se, but he's obviously not very loud with his mouth, and I think maybe that's why people enjoy it because the stuff he is doing is very spectacular with his play. And my follow-up question to that. Obviously, he moves up to a career high, ranked number 23 in the world. Does he have the potential, you think, to end this year in the top 10? And maybe not at this year, but maybe next year in 2 years. Is he a potential top 10 player?
I think he absolutely has the talent to be a top 10 player. He, his game style, he's got a lot of variety to his game, a lot of touch, a lot of feel. He's a good mover, even though he's really tall. I think that he absolutely could be a top 10 player. It's just kind of him being consistent. And I think this tournament's a start.
like you said, the consistency is key. Speaking of consistency, obviously starting to enter for the men's for the ATP part of the U.S. swing where they're playing in Dallas this week, then soon Delray, and then Indian Wells is going to be just right around the corner. So obviously a big swing for these American players, to have a lot of success, gain a lot of confidence, going out through the rest of this year. Right now, we're going through Dallas. Obviously, a lot of big time American players. We have Shelton, we have Tommy Paul, we have Tiafo, Mickelson, a younger player. There's a lot of guys right now where, if they win this tournament, hopefully could get on a little bit of a hot streak and hopefully ride this wave out. My question to you, is there anybody in your eyes who either needs a really big tournament or a really big win would be not crucial, but very beneficial for them?
I think Francis Tiafo. I think that he was really really doing well earlier last year, the year before. He's still obviously it's top 15 player, but it's been a while since he's won a title, and I know he is hungry for that next title. So I think that he could really use a deep run in one of these Dallas Delray tournaments.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, and I guess my answer for that too, I think Tommy Paul, the way obviously he went
Mm-hmm.
out in the Australian Open, losing in five, being up against Kekmanovic, wasn't the way, he wanted to end that tournament. I think he potentially could have made a very big run if he got past that match. So I think we could potentially see a Tiafo Paul matchup in the finals, which once again would be great for American tennis. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
would do great numbers. So hopefully that's the
Mm-hmm.
case. Right now it's Wednesday, so a lot of tennis to be played. By next week's episode, we'll have more on that and see the outcome of.
Well, right. I also wanted to add, can we talk about how we saw Tommy Paul and Ben Shelton hooping it up at the Dallas Open in the Mavericks arena, and Ben Shelton was dunking some basketballs, and it was really really impressive. Love to see the tennis players playing different sports. Always
No,
fun to watch.
it really shows how athletic these guys are, because
It's crazy.
a lot of people think, oh, tennis, but a lot of these guys are huge,
Yeah.
in great shape, have great stamina. Then you have a guy like Ben Shelton, who most people, in my eyes, I wasn't like, I didn't say there's no way he could dunk, but I didn't think he could dunk as easily as he did.
Yeah.
With that clip in there, I mean, he threw it down absolutely. So this really shows these guys are some of the best athletes in the world. And like I think tennis and the ATP and the Mavericks doing more of this crossover stuff is great for tennis. Obviously, I think it, just helps represent the game and get it out more on social media, which is really cool. So we have a great week in Dallas, obviously. Hopefully some of these American players have a lot of success, kind of get it going. Because right now, Fritz is the only player in the top 10. A lot of guys, in that from 10 to 20 range, a few outside the top 20. But hopefully this could be the start of hopefully a deep run and a great year for American tennis. And now I think would be a great time for our new segment, our ace and double fault of the week. I went first last week, so Rachel, I'll let you start this week.
All right. So the ace of the week, I've got two of them. First one being Irina Rodionova. She made a record this past week as the oldest player to debut in the top 100. She is 34 years old. This is kind of a similar ace as to last week's, with the older players thriving on tour. But yeah, this is her first time in the top 100. She said, I feel like now I can finally tell people that I'm a good tennis player, which she obviously always was, playing at such a high level. But that was fun to hear her say, and also very inspiring. It goes to show that age does not always need to be a factor. You can, work hard. You can believe in yourself, take care of your body, and still make a top 100 debut as a 34-year-old. So congratulations to her. She's the ace of the week. Also, another ace is this new Six Kings Slam that Saudi Arabia just announced they are hosting. And it's going to be with Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, Daniil Medvedev, Holger Rune, Sinner, and Alcaraz. Obviously, those are the other two. But it's the best six players. It's kind of an exhibition. It's $6 million prize money and a $1.5 million appearance fee. So it's just unbelievable. What a way for these players to all come together and put on a show and get paid. So that'll be good to see. I also have a double fault of the week. Now, this is just absolutely outrageous. So right now there's the Golden Swing going on, which is the 4 clay court tournaments at the beginning of the year that take place in South America. And this one, the Cordoba Open, during the tournament, the grounds where there's the big screen, let's just say they had a very, very inappropriate video shown on the screen. And I mean, this is where families and kids walk around. Like, that is a huge mistake, a huge error. And I mean, I'm sure someone's in a lot of trouble. I mean, absolutely outrageous. Something like that should never happen. And I can't believe it did at a tennis tournament. Hopefully something like that never happens again. I think, like I said, someone's got some explaining to do, but a huge double fault to the week. Yeah, love to hear yours.
For those who don't know, it was basically an adult video that somebody, I think, hacked. I'm not sure what happened, but got it on the big screen. And it wasn't just on there for like a second, and there's a very graphic video per se. So not great for that tournament, like you said. Definitely the double fault of the week. Moving on, hopefully, to more of a positive light. My ace of the week, just speaking on it quickly, we spoke about it a second ago, is the Dallas Open. We know they're being promoted next year to an ATP level 500. More media coverage, more higher level players entering it. So my ace of the week is, for American tennis, for the Dallas Open being upgraded. And I have one more ace of the week, and that is ATP, obviously, tennis media coverage, which is a surprise because at least here in America, usually it's a little bit lower. But they just put out a video, one of those script videos, where they got a lot of key players in the sense where everything's scripted. It started with Andy Murray being like, "Yeah, of course, we don't really play. They hand us the script." And then we kind of go through, we get our storyline, similar to what the NFL did last year, the beginning of this past season. They got a lot of really good reactions back because everybody's always like, oh, everything's scripted. I do think the ATP in tennis was a little bit late on this, and obviously they stole the idea, but they still went through with it. I think they executed well. They had Novak in it speaking. He was like, yeah, like you think I've really been that good for that many years? It's all scripted. I just got a good script. So really funny kind of little media thing they did. So really enjoyed that. And then my one double fault of the week is going on this past week or a week and a half ago, the Open, I think I'm hopefully pronouncing this correctly, Open sued France tournament. Sinner supposedly was supposed to play or make an appearance. He ended up withdrawing, which is very justifiable because of his deep run. I'm sure he's had a lot going on after, obviously, pre and post Australian Open victory. So they put out a statement saying he snubbed the tournament, which I just think was, not worded correctly because I don't think he snubbed it. He just withdrew, which guys do all the time in way worse fashion, very last second, and really not always with a great open or a great reason, I should say, to be withdrawn from a tournament. And Sinner, one of the most likable guys on tour, one of the most respectful guys, obviously withdrew, was playing a lot of tennis, whether it was an injury, just, guys probably just exhausted from doing all the media coverage, just a lot going on for a younger guy, wants to make sure to re-energize, reboot himself. So he actually reached out, had a statement, wasn't happy about that. They said that he snubbed the tournament, which I don't think you could do to one of the best players in the world, or really anybody in general, for having such a justifiable reason.
Yeah, no, I mean, snubbed. I mean, that's way too harsh. Yeah, like you said, yeah, ridiculous.
Snubbed is kind of just tough terminology. So hopefully
That is tough.
he's back on court soon. I don't know or at least off the top of my head, the next tournament he's looking to be and they're going to be playing in, but love seeing him on court. So hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. And I think that's it for this week's episode of Overserved. A lot going on with Holger Rune and his coach, Bublik, and obviously will he maximize his potential? And then the Dallas Open and US Swing coming up here shortly. So next week's episode, we'll have a recap of the Dallas Open and a lot more for you guys.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week.